So, the thing about iced coffee, it's drastically different than hot, of course.
True.
Drastic.
But the one that I'm working on right here in front of me is sweet.
Mm.
And I don't know, like, the thing about coffee, it's got to be the perfect amount of milk, perfect amount of ice, perfect amount of, like one little small thing can throw off the whole cup.
And I don't want any of it.
Right.
Then I'm just, thank you. I just want to throw it away.
I have a question. Okay, my iced Starbucks latte tastes a little burnt. Is it possible to burn espresso?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we would call it burnt. Barista would call it over extracting.
Oh gosh, stop it. I don't enjoy any of these terms that you use, and now I feel like you've wasted my time.
Okay, I'll ask one more question. We have iced coffees in these plastic cups. Blue Bottle has it in iced coffee in a hot cup. I can't stand it.
It's compostable. It's more eco-friendly.
I mean, big word there, but yes, it is combustible.
But you're telling me you'd rather drink a iced coffee out of that?
Yeah, 1,000%. You know why I care about the earth? Like you wouldn't even believe. You can call me Al Gore. I mean, like I'm
Green
just
hat.
like,
Yeah, I see that.
I mean, I'm Mr. Recyclable. I'm a footprint guy. Shout out to the Phoenix Suns. I'm just like, I'm in on this kind of stuff. Okay, enough with the coffee and the cups. Let's get to leadership. Lean in. Let's go. Okay, welcome back to another episode. I think we're in the 80s, guys. I think.
Whoa.
This is 80.
I think this is number 80. Mm-hmm. We have put together the listens all together, and we're in the millions. We're not in the ones. We're in the twos. We're climbing up there. Shout out to everybody that's listening, that's leaning. There's not a place that I go that I don't have somebody stop and be like, "Hey, I am a leaner." By the way, someone just told me we need to make some leadership lean-in merch.
Yes.
Yes.
You know,
If we did, it can't just say leadership lean-in. Like we gotta have some phrases.
some quotes.
What would be what would be on our hoodie or our coffee mug?
I heard John Maxwell say.
Oh
That's
gosh.
a good one.
Oh, I thought you were gonna actually say that.
Exactly.
I thought you were gonna say something. I heard John. Yeah.
Just with a ...
Or it could be lean with it, rock with it. Chad, those are terrible lyrics. We can't put that on our.
Iconic though. Iconic.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody. We love you. Maybe that we'll make some leadership lean in merch. But we are right now going to jump in. Today we are talking about what does your leadership sound like? And I love, every leader has their own kind of frequency, own voice, own, I think we can call it the 5%. Everything that a leader does, 95% of your job somebody could do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that 5% that's you. That's like totally your imprint, totally what your preference is, your personality, your unique gift mix, your unique upbringing, your unique vantage, which I absolutely love because that's that special flair, that special touch that only you bring to the table.
Yeah.
But I always love the idea of sound, that there's a sound that it also goes back to the story that you tell yourself. One of the things I'm really passionate about for any leader is never letting the narrative of your life get hijacked.
Yeah.
So what I mean by this is that a lot of times we can become a victim to our circumstance or a victim to a group or a person.
Right.
And that kind of hijacks the narrative. This is my whole thing about like to be a great leader. I think you can't let anyone break your stride.
Yep.
Like you're running your race. It's like when I ran that marathon back in March, like I refused. I would grab the cups of water or Gatorade when I was running, and about a quarter of it made it actually into my mouth. But the others, like it's like all over my shirt, and because it's like I'm not breaking my stride. If I stop, I don't think I'm gonna get going again. Like,
wow.
So I just gotta keep going. I think leadership's about that. Like you gotta just keep on going, and I think there's a sound that you can hear. It's like this is amazing. I went to my father-in-law's. I can't call it a retirement service because he would probably wrestle me to the ground. He's not retiring. I went to his baton passing. He's passing the baton. 25 years ago, he started a church, faithfully pastored it. Now he's entering a new era of ministry. and they played at his baton passing ceremony a clip from when he got prayed and sent out from his church. And it was from his pastor, a guy named Dick Iverson. And when they played this clip, I closed my eyes and I actually started to cry because the sound of it was so striking, and the sound of it was so familiar to me. And it was like, oh, there's a sound that it resonates with me. That's right. That's beautiful. I always think, it's like you can have the right words but not have the right spirit.
Yeah.
So to me, it's rarely language. It's because you can manipulate and muster it up. It's like when you go somewhere and like there's a salesman. It's like they're saying all the right stuff, but you feel crunchy.
Yeah.
Or why to use a parallel for a lot of people that are younger, why do some DMs feel inappropriate when others feel like harmless? It's like there's
Totally,
because there's a sense, there's a sound, and I think the sound of leader is so important to me. I think you should sound positive, sound faith-filled, sound joyful. You should sound excited.
Right.
Absolutely.
I get fearful. If I can be honest, I get fearful when I sound tired. I know when my voice is sounding tired and it sounds weak even.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I don't ever want to sound like that. Yeah. I want to sound like I have strength. I want to sound like I'm prepared. I want to sound like I have something to say. I want to sound like I really believe what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest gifts you can give your audience as a leader or your team is that you actually believe what you're saying.
Yes.
Just that alone.
Huge.
Even if it's not like the most decorated, eloquent speech, the fact that it's said with such conviction and such, I'll say another way, weight behind your words, people are in.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't, I could disagree with you wholeheartedly, but the fact that you say it with conviction, I can respect it even if I don't agree with it.
That's exactly right. So I think the sound, I would focus on that. Every leader needs to create a sound of their culture, their language. Every tribe has a language. Last night we had a whole bunch of people over at our house for our Connect group. And by the way, none of them knew they were coming to a Connect group. But anyways, they're all leaving, and we were making fun of one of the girls that came over. I put her and Julia on a group text, and I didn't have this person's phone number, so I got the phone number, and then I put this girl. She's a single girl, so I put her on a text with me and Julia, and I said, "Hey, so and so, tonight 6:30, blah blah blah. Can you come?" And she was shook. She's like, "Who is this?" And she was like really suspect about it, and blah blah blah. So we're all laughing, and there's a group of people at my front door like just dying over this text and this exchange, and I showed them the text, and I was like, would you guys react to this text the way this girl did? Because she was shook and taken back and like scared. And I was saying to these other normal humans, would you guys have been scared? So when I went to show them the text, one of the girls at the front door is new to LA and new to Zoe and was like, oh my gosh, that's why Zoe people text like this. She's like, I've never seen people text like this, but all the Zoe people text just like you text.
Yeah.
So funny.
And I was laughing. I was like, I don't even think about that. But there is a sound. There is a language. Yeah. There is even a text.
Yep.
Paragraphs versus lines. There's just every tribe has a language. I think you should sound so pleasant. It's like, to me, when you hear music that's busy or discombobulated and not on the same page, you don't know what's wrong always if you're not a musician, but you're like, it just didn't sound right.
Yeah.
But as opposed to when it's like, wow, the sound of that is so beautiful. It's so synchronized. It's so, there's a syncopated beat to that. I just love the idea of sound. So I want to talk about that today in just a few thoughts. The first one is that everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yeah.
And I believe in this. Everything rises. Like if you look at anything in your organization, anything that's doing good is because there's a human leading really good. And anything that's doing really bad is because there's a human that's not leading that good. Because everything rises and falls on leadership. And I take that as a privilege, as an opportunity. Not that I'm the one that makes it all happen, but I do believe that there's something about like, okay, if I've got something big in my heart, that means I've got something good in my hand. And I've got to use what's in my hand to fulfill what's in my heart. And how do I do that? I just keep working what's in my hand.
Yep.
And if I'm a good steward, if I'm attentive and I've got good accountability, and I've got the ability to think linear and dissect it and have a good critical eye for it, and yet a positive spirit to rehabilitate and build it, then I can make something rise. And the law of opposite is at play here. If I neglect something, if I'm afraid of the real facts and the truth of where we're at, then things can fall. So a lot of times the sound that's coming out of our leadership has to do with work ethic.
Yes.
Has to do with details, has to do with organizational leadership, has to do with org charts and structures and systems. And it's what James Clear says. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems.
Yep.
And I like this ability to go, I think that if I work, and it's not always about hard, if I work smart, I can have the ability to build a great season here and build a great run. Everything in leadership rise and fall. So guess what? Lead.
Yeah.
Lead. Have fun with it. Believe that I am the problem and the solution.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like I was joking around the other day. I'm doing all the press for Worried About Nothing. Worried About Everything. And sorry, Worried About Nothing is something else. But
We've used it all in different ways.
We've played on this thing a whole bunch of times. But I've got all my lines down and my answers down and my runs down for the press part of the book.
Yeah.
And I was laughing because I remembered the last book, Help I Work With People, doing all the press and the podcast and all that for that book. And one of the lines I kept using a lot was that I would so love to play the blame game. Like the blame game is so fun. The only problem with playing the blame game is that I am the common denominator in all of my problems.
Right.
And so guess what? I'd love to blame April.
That's right.
I would love to blame the Womster. That's a fun game. I've blamed Nate for maybe a good 15 to 20 years. The only problem is that it doesn't get me anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the common denominator. So a lot of times when it's doing good, it's because I'm doing good. It's very hard to separate your personal life from your organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
totally.
usually hand in hand, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually like when I'm doing really, really good, this thing is doing really, really good. When I can't focus and I'm not doing good and I'm tired and I'm burnt out, this kind of gets stagnant. And so I just love that idea that the sound of my leadership has to do with even the sound of my life.
Yep.
Totally. I think some of the things that you're saying, you don't want to sound, you want to make sure and protect yourself from sounding weak, but there is a difference between sounding weak and sounding transparent and vulnerable.
Yeah.
And everything that you're saying, I think, is so good. How do we as a leader kind of go between those two paradigms? I don't want to sound weak, but I want to make sure the team doesn't see that I'm just trying to put stuff on,
Well, I think that, a lot of times I would replace the word weakness with meekness, because meekness is controlled strength. It's
Great.
controlled power. So I can still be in control and admit that I'm using my power to, it's the whole saying that people admire your strengths, but they relate with your weaknesses.
Yeah.
So just take the superhero cape off. There are no superheroes in leadership or life. So I would say allow people to relate with your weakness and still be vulnerable and still be transparent. I think there's always discretion and discernment within that. But I think that what happens for leaders is that we self-project the pressure to be perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
No one else is asking us to be perfect,
Right.
but we think we've got to maintain this level. And if I show weakness, then I'm seen as weak. I actually think if you show meekness, which is it's in the camp of weakness. If you show meekness, which is controlled power, I think people relate to it, but they're drawn to it. I mean, if you just think about, let's use the word, if you're very put off by the word weakness, let's just use the word humility.
Yeah.
Right.
Humility draws God in first
Yeah.
and then others.
Yep.
And so I think that we have to be, if you're not crushing it strong, the sound is beautiful, the sound is positive, the sound of music, like if you're not singing in the rain, that's okay.
Yeah.
You can use the ability to show. I think I want to use a lot of context here. I don't like overshares. And I don't think it's appropriate to let people, too far in. I think that there's a high level of discernment that you need. But I do think that if you try and spin stuff all the time, people know.
Yeah, I think that's the sound that if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is weakness. That's not the thing. Weakness, that's humility.
Yeah,
it's when you're weak, but you try to convince people
that you're
still strong.
Right.
Because that's just, to me, insecurity.
Yeah,
Totally.
That's masking stuff. That's image management.
Yep.
And I think image management, we live in this curated era. I mean, you guys run social accounts. You guys understand we spin stuff all day long.
Yeah.
We curate stuff all day. We show people our best, of course. That's kind of the marketing business. But I think as far as relationships go and team dynamics.
Yeah, leadership.
Leadership. We're not talking about marketing now. We're talking about leadership.
Yep.
People are drawn to humble leaders. It just brings people in. And I don't think that you need to do this from the premise of trying to garner compassion. I don't like leaders that are like trying to get sympathy and trying to get people to feel bad.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody to feel bad for me, to be honest. Like, if you are very sympathetic for me, it wouldn't move the needle for me.
Right.
Like, thank you, but it doesn't fill my cup. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I need you to also, I think that we need to journey together. I think who you build your organization with, you should journey life with together.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. But I do think that there's a tension here at play that we got to be careful to not let, I think there's just so often too many details given and too much insight. And then it's like, people aren't respecting now. People are like scared. It's like, wait, well, hold on, what?
Yeah.
I could just think of times with leaders I've worked with or for, and the overshare just totally.
Yep. This conversation just went on for 2 minutes too long. You could have left all that out and it would have been great.
It would have been great. And I just don't know. I just don't need to know details.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I just love this idea. Everything rises and falls on leadership. The second thing I put down is fix the problem or fix the person. When you're really trying to build and trying to go and trying to get that sound healthy, if the sound, okay, let's say the sound of the organization right now is dissatisfied, disgruntled, disenfranchised, discouraged. Okay, how do I get the morale high? How do I get the chemistry? How do I get the sound to change? A lot of times, okay, we got to fix the problem. But what is the problem? Is it a systems problem? Is it a spirit problem, which is attitude, or is it a people problem? Sometimes you got to go through and sift through and go like, okay, what are we really facing as an organization here? And how do we make sure that the sound is healthy? The sound is dynamic. The sound is unity. The sound is laughter. If the laugh is slow, I always go like, okay, something's in the air. Something's going on. Something could be off. So I think that you got to look at, is the problem leadership, or is the problem maybe a person has run its course? Maybe a person has a personal issue going on. Maybe the person is in a financial pressure. Financial pressure will make people go crazy.
Yeah.
Totally. So just find out. I think if everything rises and falls on leadership, I got to first look in the mirror. Can't play the blame game. I got to look at me. And I got to go, okay, what do we got to fix here? Then I go into the organization. I go, okay, is the systems of communication, systems of deliverables, systems of calendar, HR, whatever, fill in the blank for your organization, or is it people? I think people are always changing.
Right.
And sometimes people change for the better, and sometimes they don't. People just change.
Right.
And so, every season, every year, you need to evaluate.
Yeah.
In order for this to rise, what's the problem that we got to fix? I don't want to convince people to be firefighters.
Right.
I refuse to live my life as a firefighter where I'm just going out putting out fires. Leadership is not about being reactive; it's about being proactive. But there is, to a certain degree, about leadership having the ability to go and react to problems that are happening.
Of course.
Problems are happening all the time, everywhere. So you got to do your best, I think, to get in the weeds and find out, did we cause the problem?
Yeah.
Or did something, in a person's life, or fill in the blank? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It reminds me of a point that we've talked about in previous leadership, which is you take care of what's important now. You take care of the wins.
That's it.
You're looking for what's important. Sometimes that's what's going on with the team, what's going on with people, and sometimes it's what's broken in our systems.
Yep.
And that's something I've seen, like at least leading a team here at Zoe is when the team is strong, you focus on systems, you put in the work to make that better. And then when the systems are strong, you're like, okay, how's the team doing? How can we build this up? And it's so true. And I love that we focus so much on relationship and people management here at Zoe is that because that's important. And I think that gets left behind in so many atmospheres. And I think in the leadership world that people focus more on systems than they do on people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, listen, I mean, what is leadership? Leadership to me is putting others in front of yourself even. So it's the people first mantra. It's people first.
Yep.
Okay, so if you put people first, we got to look at their health. We got to look at their sound. What does that leader sound like right now?
Mm.
Do they sound hurt? Do they sound frustrated? Do they sound overwhelmed? Let's look at the C's of a leader. You have character, capacity, competence, chemistry. Okay, so how is their character?
Yep.
Do they have good character right now? Because sometimes people can go in and out of really healthy, good character. What about capacity? How much can they handle on their plate?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when financial pressure or things go on in somebody's life, their capacity for care, concern, planning, organization just goes out the window. Okay, what about competence? Are they doing a job, a role that they are fit to do?
Right.
And then I think the chemistry, how are they affecting others? Chemistry is such a big deal because when the oil's there and it's rolling, it's rocking, and we're all going to. I mean, chemistry when it's high, it's like boom, let's go, we're rocking.
Yeah.
When the chemistry goes bad, it's like something happened here. What's going on?
Yep.
How do we fix? So is the problem a system, or is the problem, in this case with chemistry, people? And we're in the people business. It's a daunting thing. Again, Help I Work with People is a daunting book for me. It stares me in the face because it is never about others. It is first about me.
Yeah, that's right.
It's never about going like they're the problem. Again, I can't play the blame game. I'm the common denominator in all my problems.
Right.
And so I got to fix, okay, if this is going to sound good, this is going to rise, what part do I have to play? What conversations need to be had? What changes? That's the harder part. What changes need to be made?
Yep.
And it's the whole thing. What got you here is not going to get you there. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results.
Right.
So I think you got to make changes. The next one, I think that for the sound to be good, and shout out to Brad Lomenick. He's got a book called, I think it's Humble, Hungry, and Honest or something. It's 3 H's. Honoring. I think that's, yeah. Can you Google that, the Wanster? Look up Brad Lomenick's book. It's shout out to Brad. I love you, Brad. Please do not be mad that I don't know the third H. I know it's Humble and Hungry's in there, but there is a third H. And I think you got to work with people. What is it? Humble, Hungry, and Hustle.
Hustle.
Work
Okay.
ethic, grind.
There it is.
There it
Love
is. This guy was thinking honor. My God.
Wasn't good.
Take away his mic. But I think that you got to work with people that are humble, hungry, and want to hustle.
Yeah.
The people that want to be there. Anytime you get people in the organization or on your team, whatever field of industry you work in, that are like, ugh. As soon as that happens, it's tough to work with.
Yep.
Because that is I don't want, now let me just say, we all got things we don't want to do. Get out of here. And if you expect to be a leader, it's like, I just want to do stuff I want to do. That life, you can choose that life. The repercussions of that are so insane.
Right.
I'm thinking of multiple examples of people just like, I only want to do what I want to do, and I'm willing to sacrifice anything just to live a life for me to be able to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do, however I want to do it. You can do that. That's fine. But the repercussions of that are wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll only be able to do that for a very short amount of time before it catches up to you. Now you can't do anything you want to do.
Or if I'm thinking of other examples, if you have the means and the resources to choose that life, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you got the resources to do it, ball out.
Yeah.
There's still wild percussions to
Yeah.
that. What I'm saying is, for it to sound good and for it to rise, I gotta work with the ones that want to be here.
Yep.
Everything, listen, none of it is about doing minimums or what is required or expected. Anything that's great goes the extra mile.
Yep.
I don't care what field you're in. You coach a basketball team,
That's it.
you're going to put, the school's like, I'm going to give you this much money. You're going to work like you got paid 70 times that amount of money. I don't care what industry. Make a movie, make a TV show, make a whatever. It's never about dollars and cents.
Right.
It's always about, do I take pride and joy in what I do? I'm going to quote John Maxwell, gosh dang it.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
And this episode's John Maxwell quote. Never work a day in your life.
That's right.
Never. I have never. I've been doing this 2 decades plus. I've never gone to work. I've never once
Love that.
thought about hours one time.
Right. You don't clock in?
I've never. I mean, come on,
Wait
think
a
about it.
second.
You got and you know you're working with the right people that have that attitude,
Yeah.
that approach. It's
Yeah.
like it's not about hours, dollars. What are you talking about? It's just like I love
Right.
what I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're working with people that have to be here, spirit is going to slow down your organization. It's I want to.
Right.
I'm glad to.
Yeah.
And I always think that when you have that, you've got blinders for nothing else. We were talking about this in a series a while ago. Arrested. You're arrested almost to do nothing else.
Yep.
Right.
And there's a grace for that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always last forever. But for that run with that.
Yeah.
I just love that.
I think you talked about this. Maybe it was the last one, but the goal is not balance, it's health.
Yeah.
And it's like the greatest people, they're not looking at hours, they're not looking to clock in. They're looking at how hard can I go and still be healthy.
That's it.
And, that's what we're talking about. We're not saying hustle so you kill yourself,
No.
but go as hard as you can for as long as you can while you can still be healthy and then maintain that.
Yeah.
I always think when I get around like great leaders, I am awe-inspired at work ethic. It just never ceases to amaze me. I'm going to name drop. Please pick up the name after I drop it. I'm going to drop it like it's hot.
No.
I'm going to drop a name right now. You guys,
Should we guess who it is?
you guys just get ready. But please pick up the name after I drop it.
Okay.
My good friend, Dr. Henry Cloud.
It's a good name right there.
Yeah, he's my buddy. But Dr. Henry Cloud, who has sold 38 million books,
Jeez.
who told me about, Boundaries still sell. He still sells 60,000 books a month. He told me his book that came out before Boundaries, which is called Changes That Heal. I go, Changes That Heal. I go, how did that book do? Because Boundaries, we know, did.
Yeah.
I go, how did Changes That Heal go? He goes, it started off slow. Okay, Dr. Cloud, let's bring
What's
context
slow
here.
for you?
What's slow?
Right.
He goes, first year it only sold 70,000. I laid hands on myself. And I said, God, I declare a slow year over my life. Give me, God, this worried about everything, a slow year. Help me, God. So, Dr. Cloud, we've just become close. He's a good friend. I texted him a couple of days ago. How you doing? Slammed. 4 or 5 days ago. Where you at? This city. Where you going next? That city. What do you got coming up? This guy does not stop working.
Wow.
You would think he's like, dude, I'm on the golf course.
Right.
I like drinking pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. What are we talking about? This guy does not stop
Great reference.
working. He just and I always think it's never about dollars.
No.
It's never about money.
Right.
It's about in loving what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
And enjoying the process. And I do think that there's something about that hustle and that work ethic, but do it in a sense where it's like, I love what I'm doing. I really enjoy this.
Yeah.
Is that the key to not getting burnt out? Because, I see people throwing around this word constantly. I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to be honest, like you're a barista and you're burnt out.
Yeah.
Working 20 hours a week. I'm not taking anything away from that, but we're talking about someone like Dr. Henry Cloud, who's like 20 hours a day, and he's not burnt out. Like what, how does someone arrive to that place? It's not an amount of work
It's
issue.
not. I think it's such a mental attitude. It's a mental fortitude. That's why I love David Goggins.
Yeah.
David Goggins running down the street with his shirt off telling me what a wussy I am. Thinking that when I'm done, there's still 60% more in me. Is that what it says? 60?
Yeah.
You still got 60% more. I just like, it's Mamba mentality.
That's right.
It's such a mentality. And if you roll into that new life victim mentality, I'm burnt out, fine. You listen, if you make that bed, you're going to have to lie in it. And I would choose to believe that I was gifted and wired by God for work. Work
Yeah.
is a gift.
Yep.
And I'm wired
Yep.
to produce.
So good.
God called me to create. He did not call me to consume.
Right.
He called me to create. And so I just love that idea. You find people that want to be there. Next one, you got to forgive and forget. You got to move on. Okay, so let's say it went down. Let's say it went bad. Let's say it didn't sound like the sound you wanted to sound. Let's say there's people that didn't want to be here. Okay, that's fine. But you got to, I call it spiritual amnesia. Where, there's a reference, a great Bible reference. If you're not a believer, this is a great verse, I think. This guy, Paul, he says, forgetting what is behind and press towards what's ahead. It's not that he cannot remember. He chooses not to remember.
Yeah.
He's saying, I could recall and recount and think about and, keep rehearsing and keep going through. But I'm moving on.
Right.
Again, don't break your stride.
Yep.
Just keep going. And you got to forget. I don't know an effective leader that is also bitter.
Totally.
If you struggle with bitterness and unforgiveness, that contamination of soul affects every area of your life.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, that's going to seep into every relationship and every thinking, every decision that you got. So because I know the power of bitterness and the power of unforgiveness, I will not let it reside in my life.
Great.
If I let it reside in my life, there goes my kids, there goes my spouse, there goes my friendships, there goes to everything. And I just refuse to give people control over the narrative of my life. I got to forgive and forget. I forget about it. It's just like, let's move on. What's ahead? What's in the future? And by the way, there is a difference between moving on and stepping in.
Hello. Keep going.
Moving on is like, I'm moving on. Okay. What are you stepping into? That is, to me, the power of great leadership. Are you more obsessed about the pain of the past or the faith of the future? Moving on is still giving control over the past. Stepping in is excitement,
Yeah.
vision, hope, calling,
Right.
dream.
Yep.
I'd rather step into stuff than move on from stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, again, what do you sound like?
Yep.
It's like, again, I'm listening to my father-in-law's prayer in 1993 from a guy that I've met one time. And I'm like, woo! The sound of that.
Yeah.
I know that sound. That sounds like, and it's all good. And I know the sound of grumbling and complaining and passive-aggressive and sideways and criticism and comments. And to be a great leader, you cannot have that in your language.
Right. Yeah. I think, especially with today's cancel culture, bitterness is almost seen as like a positive thing.
It's a weapon, yeah.
You're justified.
Right.
Well, it's like when we talk about this, you can either create content or you can do shame content.
Yeah.
Shame
Yikes.
content, because of trauma,
Wow.
shame content resonates even more, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why, to me, I believe negativity is more powerful than positivity.
Wow.
It didn't say one good apple will heal the whole bunch. It said one bad apple will spoil the whole bunch.
Yeah, that's right.
I think hatred is stronger than love.
Jeez. You think we'll get more views if we start doing Clipper reaction videos?
Oh, dude. If I started just to call out people and share my opinion about people,
Oh, this thing would go.
if I just,
Let's do it.
like we just sat here and we just like, yeah, and they never did this, and look at what and they're dumb, and or just or how about, you know what I think is so fascinating right now is mocking,
Yeah. Yep.
the mocking culture. And there's just this, it's all, by the way, if you want to know If you ever want to know what's in someone's heart, watch what they laugh at. Watch what they think is funny.
Yikes.
Because stuff that they shouldn't think is funny, if your heart's sideways, you go, that's funny. I watch some stuff and I'm like, I tell Julia, I feel very sad for that person. Yeah. I know other people are laughing. That's not good. Right. That is not right.
Yeah.
That is not okay. That you just, someone's just trying to cry for help. So you got to be careful because negativity is stronger than positivity.
Jesus, a scary thought.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna just a couple more. Okay, I think that you need to process before you project. So to get the sound right into the place that you want it or you feel like it should be, we need to process. If everything rises and falls on leadership, well, how do we get to the place where it's like, I want to project and forecast and have excitement and future and we're gonna build and we're gonna go and that's awesome. But I think you need the ability to really have moments of reflection.
Yeah.
If we don't, what I have found in my own failure, just speaking out of failure, is that we can go around the mountain just time and time again and keep repeating the same mistakes. But in order for there to be change, I got to really reflect honestly and go, okay, let me process.
Yep.
How do we get here? What just happened? Why did it happen? What changes need we make? What do I need to do different? What does the team need to hear? Process before you project.
Yep.
I think it's very ignorant to just go, let's project.
Right.
I think it's very responsible to process.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody recently and they were like, hey, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I journal almost every night. And I was like, oh, I never knew this about one of my friends. Like, yeah, I try and journal every night and just really reflect what were highs of the days, what were lows of the days, what did I feel, what's some to-do lists I need to do tomorrow. And I was just thinking, I wonder how much wisdom this person has garnished out of times of reflection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How many times do we go through an amazing day or a bad day and we don't just pencil down, this is what that made me feel like, this is what I learned from this is where I'm at today. And to go back to those notes 6 months later and go like, oh, that's right. That's what I do love about the iPhone.
Right, those memories.
Those memories, and I can press play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, it takes me back.
Yep.
And I think that, there is, in hindsight, 20/20 vision.
Yeah.
And I can see, listen, I might not understand everything in real time, but 6 months later, I can look and go, that's what that was. That's what was happening. That's what needed to change. That's what was going on. And I think before you project, that's amazing. You got forecasting, you got, things in your heart. Go for it. But let's process. So we don't get 6 months, 9 months down the road. It's like, man, we're here again.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I think. You lose credibility with those that are around you, but you start losing credibility with yourself.
Wow.
You stop trusting yourself. That's when I think shame and the weight of poor decision making. Like, I think that all of us should be very concerned about our own personal decision making skills.
Yes.
Do you have decision making skills? Guys, wouldn't it be awesome if we could go through a day where we didn't have to make a decision? The reality is that every day I do the same thing. I do it the night before and the day of, where I go through a text with Julia and Doe, who is our assistant, and I try and plan out every minute of my day. Do you know how many edits I do of that draft?
Right. Over and over.
No, move that. Let's go. That can go the next day. I actually need to meet this person, blah, blah, blah. Because it's like I'm making decisions and I every day have to make valuable decisions with my time is money.
Yeah.
Right.
Where am I going to put my time? I think that you should be so good and so careful at decision making. So before you project, process so you don't repeat the same mistakes. And the last one, this is just, to me, the make or break of all of this is accountability breeds possibility.
Amazing.
Accountability. And I love, in context, healthy accountability. Healthy accountability to me is not me having to police you, April, or police you, Nate. That's not accountability. Accountability is reporting.
Yep. That's right.
This is how I'm doing. This is what happened, good or bad. This and the accountability of numbers, reports, percentages. Listen, numbers don't lie.
Mm-mm.
They don't tell the full story, but they do tell a story.
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So I think just looking at reports, looking at what's going on, accountability breeds possibility. So I think that with reporting, and then I think that with soul care. Accountability. Hey, I'm frustrated. Hey, I'm overwhelmed. Hey, I'm not getting along with this person. Hey, this is what's going on. Hey, accountability breeds possibility. Everything that's in the dark is where it all goes bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Festers, gets sideways, gets or the team goes low. Accountability keeps things in the light.
Right.
And this is cliche, but there's life in the light.
Mm-hmm.
There's death and darkness, and there's life and light.
Yep.
So accountability breeds possibility. The possibilities of what this could sound like and where it could go and what we could do is unbelievable when there's great accountability. And I think rarely do you find people are like, you know what I just love?
Right.
I personally love being held accountable.
Right.
Everybody's like, I don't want anybody to know where I'm at. I don't
Yep.
want anybody to see it. The numbers aren't where I want them to be. There's not, the team is, we kind of duck it. And okay, that's fine. You duck that, but okay, fast forward the tape. 4-6 months from now, where are you going to be? Same spot.
Yep.
Even
Or
actually
worse.
worse.
Or worse.
Keep it in the light.
I think accountability, it only feels hurtful or shameful or difficult, especially in the beginning when you're not used to doing something or being held accountable.
Right.
But there's a reason why people celebrate getting a coin in a year, 7 years.
That's it.
10 years. There's a reason why. This is James Clear message out of Atomic Habits. You habit track, so you hold yourself accountable. You write a contract with yourself.
Ooh.
After the first week, when you've missed a couple, you're like, I don't like being held accountable. But a year, when you have 340 out of 365 days down, you go like, I love accountability.
I love
Yeah.
it.
This is amazing.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that you got to start to, to me, accountability speaks to security of soul. I'm secure enough to handle accountability.
Yeah.
Right.
Insecurity runs from it. And by the way, so does a rebellious spirit. Rebellion does not want to be held accountable for anything. We don't want a curfew. We don't want to be told what to do with our money. That's just that I can't come under.
Yep.
That I cannot subject myself to anyone else other than me, which is a pride issue, and we know that before destruction comes, there's always pride. So pride just that spirit leads to absolute failure, and it will permeate in every area of your life: finances,
Yes.
spiritual, emotional, relational, every area. So I gotta be accountable because, and to me, that there's such safety in going like, hey, I don't have the answers. I know I'm at fault. I know there's things I'm not doing right. I know I'm not the smartest tool in the shed. I know I'm not the brightest. Okay, I need help.
Yeah.
And to live your life that way, I think is great safety,
Totally.
great comfort.
Absolutely.
The opposite way would scare the heck out of me.
It's like you want to protect the investment.
Yeah.
You can't protect the investment of your future or the vision that's on your life, your calling, if accountability is protecting
Yeah.
all of that stuff. If you get rid of that, it's like, I don't want insurance in my life. I don't want to,
Yeah.
I want to drive without a seatbelt. It's like all of this accountability
Yeah.
is just the protection of
Right.
Yeah.
leadership on your life.
I remember a couple of years ago, we were at one of our board meetings, and to our board, we report all of our numbers. Of course,
So good.
every number you could ever
Yeah.
imagine, right? And so they're going through it, and I remember one year reporting a very low baptism number, and I was embarrassed. And so one of the board members asked us about this comparative baptisms from year to year. We were down like an insane percent. And I remember kind of almost feeling like red in the face, like embarrassed, like, why did we have such low baptisms? That's embarrassing. And it was because of a system problem.
Yeah.
We only had done it infrequently, like maybe
Once a quarter or
yeah,
something.
well, 2 or 3
Right,
times that
right,
year. And that garnished a really low number. But I love the accountability of this board member going, that play does not work.
Yeah.
That is not wise. Let's make the change. And just having the ability for somebody who's wiser and older than me to look. Now I'm using baptism number as just an example of like, we need people to look at our life
Yeah.
to go like, I see there's something that's off here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not police anger, condemnation, guilt, shame. That's going like, hey, how can we help?
Yeah.
Yep.
How can we get better?
Yep.
And I just think that, man, every way of a man is right in his own eyes. So in my own eyes, I'm killing it. But I'm killing it until I start talking to Julia.
Wow.
So great.
Yes.
I love it.
Julia's like, oh, bro, sit down. Be humble. You are not killing it. Take out the trash. I had to pick up your stuff in the bathroom this morning. You know, blah blah blah. You need accountability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think it's good. So we love you. The sound. I'm so hopeful today. Every leader, the sound of your leadership is positive, excited, just pumped about the future, interrogating reality, understanding what's going on, and making the changes that are needing to be made.
That's right.
We're just gonna be over here sipping our plastic combustible cups.
Our burnt
5 shots of
lattes.
espresso.
What did you say it was? It was over.
Over extracted.
Yeah, I hated that part. We love you, leaners. We'll see you soon.